Mr. Man and Little Miss Treasury. I have tons of stories to tell you. Come and see. There we are. So today's story I picked is Little Miss Trouble Move-In House. Little Miss Trouble lives in up-to-no-good cottage, surrounded by fields and trees, and more fields and more trees, and even more fields. Her nearest neighbours live miles and miles away, and there is a very good reason for this. That very good reason is Miss Trouble. Nobody wants to live next door to somebody who causes so much trouble. Somebody who telephoned Mr. Lazy at 5 o'clock every morning for a whole week. And somebody who told Mr. Wrong that the best thing to use to polish his car was boot polish. Now, because she lived all on her own, Miss Trouble found that she could not cause half as much trouble as she would like to. What little Miss Trouble longed for more than anything else was a neighbour. One Monday, when little Miss Trouble was walking in the woods near her house, she came upon a wishing well. "Well, I never," she said, and she had an idea. She threw in a coin in a well. "I wish I lived next door to somebody," she said out loud. The next morning, when she looked out of her window, she discovered that if by magic, which it was, her house was next door to Box Cottage, which is where Mr. Chatterbox lives. "Tee! Now for some fun," giggled Miss Trouble. She crept down the lane, around the corner, up a telegraph pole, and cut a telephone line. Poor Mr. Chatterbox. No telephone, no one to chat to. But it was then that he looked out of the window and saw Miss Trouble's house. 5 minutes later, there was a knock at Miss Trouble's door. "Hello," said Mr. Chatterbox. "Just thought I'd pop around for a quick chat. Funny thing, you know, my telephone's broken and Mr. Chatterbox talked and chatted and chatted and talked through the morning, all afternoon, and late into night. The next day, Tuesday, a very tired little Miss Trouble went back to the wishing well and threw in another coin. "I wish I'd lived next door to someone else," she said. And the very next morning, little Miss Trouble found herself living next door to Mr. Bump. She threw a brick one of his windows, but Mr. Bump has so many accidents that he did not notice one more broken window. On Wednesday, Miss Trouble tried to play a trick on little Miss Lucky, but she discovered that little Miss Lucky is too lucky for any of Miss Trouble's tricks to work on her. On Thursday, there was nobody at little Miss Late's house. She was late getting back from her holiday. On Friday, little Miss Trouble told Mr. Muddle that Mr. Small had called him an egghead. But Mr. Muddle got muddled up, and instead of being angry, he thanked him. On Saturday, little Miss Trouble let the tires down on Mr. Forgetful's car, but Mr. Forgetful forgot he had a car and caught the bus. On Sunday, it was a very fed-up little Miss Trouble who returned to the wishing well to make a wish. And she had a thought. "A thought went like this. The trouble with neighbours," thought little Miss Trouble, "is that there are too much trouble." And she went home, and she was very, very good, and didn't make any trouble for anybody for ever and ever. Well, until Tuesday. That's the end of our story, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's Mr. Man story, and I'll see you next time for another story from the Mr. Man. Goodbye!